All right, so let's get right into it. OpenAI, the folks behind ChatGPT, they just dropped a bombshell announcement. And seriously, the whole tech world is buzzing. It all boils down to this huge shift in how they're thinking about their users and their own platform.
So you've got Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, right? He puts out this tweet, talks about a bunch of updates, user control, chatbot personality, kind of standard stuff. But then, right at the very end, the last sentence, boom, total bombshell. It's a textbook case of burying the lead.
And yeah, there it is. Get this. Starting in late 2025, they're basically taking the guardrails off. If you're a verified adult, you'll be able to create and interact with erotic content on ChatGPT. We're talking one of the most powerful AIs on the planet. This is a huge 180 on their policy. So that brings us to the big question, right? Is OpenAI kicking off a whole new era of creative freedom for adults, giving us more control? Or have they just opened a Pandora's box of problems, ethical, legal, safety issues, that maybe they can't even handle? Okay, so first, let's look at it from OpenAI's perspective. What's their reasoning here? Well, their whole argument really comes down to one simple idea: treat adults like adults. But, and this is important, getting here, yeah, it wasn't a straight shot. What's super interesting here is you can actually see how their thinking has changed over time. Let's break it down. When ChatGPT first came out, it was locked down tight, super cautious. But then they ran into some serious trouble, including a lawsuit that claims the AI gave really harmful advice to a kid. So in response to that and a lot of other feedback, OpenAI says they've built better safety tools. And it's those new tools that are supposedly giving them the confidence to finally loosen the reins for adults. And this quote from Sam Altman, it just nails their motivation. He basically said, look, that super cautious approach, it might have been well-intentioned, but it was just frustrating a ton of people. It was making the tool less useful, less fun to use. So this big policy change, it's them trying to correct course, to stop oversteering. So you see, this whole decision taps into something way bigger. This isn't just some technical tweak. No, it's a philosophical debate. It gets right to the heart of what role these huge tech platforms should even have in our lives. And at the core of it all, you've really got these two competing ideas. On one side, you have what you could call user sovereignty, the idea that, hey, adults are adults. They should be free to choose their own experiences online without some company playing nanny. But then on the other side, you've got platform duty of care. This is the argument that these companies do have a responsibility to protect people from harm, maybe even from themselves. This quote just says it all for the pro-freedom side, doesn't it? If that feeling of being totally fed up with being treated like a kid. You ask a simple question and you get this condescending, sanitized non-answer. You're just tired of the bubble wrap. But then you get this comeback. It's hilarious, but it's also got a real point. It's this reminder that, just because someone's an adult doesn't mean they're automatically wise or can't be harmed. It's a shout out to the fact that people are complicated. They can be influenced, and maybe, just maybe, platforms need to plan for that. And look, these aren't just abstract worries. Critics are pointing to some really concrete risks. We're talking about things like addiction or people becoming more socially isolated. There's also the very real danger of normalizing AI-generated content that's exploitative. And then there's this idea someone called the bad friend effect, where the AI doesn't challenge you or give you a new perspective. It just tells you exactly what you want to hear. It hypes you up and doubles down in your worst impulses. All right, so let's say OpenAI magically solves that whole philosophical debate. Okay, fine. They immediately slam into another wall, and this one is very, very real, a massive legal minefield. So this idea that OpenAI can just, flip a switch and turn on adult mode for the whole world, yeah, that's not happening. The reality is they are on a collision course with this incredibly messy patchwork of laws, both here and around the globe. I mean, just take a look at this regulatory mess. In the UK, you've got the Online Safety Act, which is all about protecting kids. Over in the EU, there's the Digital Services Act, focused on content moderation. And here in the US, it's even more of a headache. You've got federal laws on things like deepfakes, sure, but then you've got states like Utah and Virginia, and they have their own super strict rules for age verification. Trying to make this work everywhere, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. And for the US, this is the elephant in the room, Section 230. Now, this is the law that's been the bedrock of the internet for decades, right? It's what protects platforms like Facebook from getting sued over what their users post. But, and this is a huge but, here's the AI twist. Does that protection still count when the platform isn't just hosting the content, but is actively helping create it? Most legal experts are saying probably not. And that could open up OpenAI to a world of legal pain. Which brings us to the final piece of this puzzle, and honestly, it might be the hardest one to solve. If you're going to have an adults-only section, you've got to have a foolproof way to know who's actually an adult. Basically, you've got two main paths here, and neither one is perfect. First, there's soft verification. That's just a little checkbox that says, yep, I'm over 18. Super easy, sure, but we all know it stops basically nobody. Then you have strong verification. This is where you have to upload a real ID. It's way more secure, but it opens up a huge can of worms with privacy. Like, who gets to hold on to that data, and how are they keeping it safe? So here's what that strong process would actually feel like for you. You try to get access, and it would ask you to upload your driver's license or another ID. Then you might have to take a quick selfie to prove you're the person on the ID. Behind the scenes, some tech is scanning the document and matching your face. It's a solid system for sure, but it's also a pain. And it means you have to put an incredible amount of trust in that company with some of your most private info. Now, to try and sidestep those privacy concerns, OpenAI is also cooking up something else. It's an AI that would try to guess your age based on how you actually use ChatGPT. Maybe it looks at your vocabulary, the kinds of things you talk about, how you structure your sentences, who knows? It's a really fascinating idea, but it is completely unproven. Can an algorithm really tell the difference between a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old just from their prompts? Let's just say the jury is way, way out on that. So as we start to pull this all together, it's pretty clear this whole thing is way bigger than just some new feature. This is a massive test case. How OpenAI manages to balance user freedom with safety, how they deal with all the legal hoops, and how they solve that identity problem. Whatever they do, it's going to set the stage for the entire AI industry. And that really leaves us with one final and, I think, really important question. We are building these incredible tools for creation. They have almost no limits. But are we building the tools to control them? The legal rules, the ethical guidelines, the tech frameworks. Are we building those at the same speed? Or in this mad dash to innovate, are we just always going to be a step behind, constantly playing catch-up?